When people talk about the greatest quarterbacks ever, the conversation usually goes the same way. Tom Brady, Peyton Manning, Patrick Mahomes, Joe Montana, maybe Aaron Rodgers. And then somewhere down the list, Drew Brees gets mentioned. But the more I look back on his career, the more I think we've forgotten how ridiculous Drew Brees truly was. Because unlike most all-time great quarterbacks, Brees wasn't operating with overwhelming advantages. In fact, most of his career was exactly the opposite. Remember how his NFL journey started? The Chargers drafted Phillip Rivers and essentially told Drew Brees they didn't think he was the future. Then he suffered a devastating shoulder injury that most people thought would end his career, and the Saints still took a chance on him. At the time, New Orleans wasn't some stable NFL destination. The city was still recovering from Hurricane Katrina. The franchise had one playoff win in its entire history. There was no championship culture. There was no dynasty. There was no expectation of success. Then Drew Brees arrived, and everything changed. Not eventually, almost immediately. Within a few years, the Saints became one of the NFL's premier organizations, and Drew Brees wasn't just the quarterback. He became the face of the city's recovery. That's a level of pressure almost no players ever experienced. But what makes Brees so underrated isn't what he just meant to New Orleans. It's how he played. Because physically, Drew Brees had no business putting up the numbers he did. He was barely 6 feet tall, he wasn't a great runner, and he didn't have the strongest arm. He wasn't a freak athlete like Josh Allen. He wasn't launching lasers across the field like Aaron Rodgers. So how did he dominate for nearly 2 decades? His processing speed was absurd. Before the ball was even snapped, Brees often knew where he was going. He understood leverage, he understood coverage rotation, he understood exactly how to manipulate defenders with his eyes. While other quarterbacks won with arm talent, Brees won with precision. And honestly, that's harder to appreciate because it isn't flashy. You don't always notice a quarterback identifying a coverage 2 seconds before everyone else, but that's what made him special. And here's the part nobody talks about enough. For a huge portion of his prime, the Saints' defense was terrible. From 2012 to 2016, New Orleans routinely fielded some of the worst defenses in football. Yet Brees still kept dragging them to relevance, season after season, year after year. In 2015, he threw for nearly 5,000 yards. The Saints went 7-9. A year earlier, over 4,900 yards. Another mediocre season. Imagine if Patrick Mahomes spent half a decade carrying a bottom-tier defense while still producing elite numbers. We'd never stop talking about it. Yet, that's exactly what Drew Brees did. And because those teams weren't constantly making deep playoff runs, people started overlooking how incredible the quarterback actually was. Then there's the ring argument. People see one Super Bowl and think Brees automatically belongs in a tier below other all-time greats. But football isn't basketball. Quarterbacks don't control everything. But if a few plays go differently, Brees might actually retire with 2 or 3 championships. The Minneapolis Miracle, the infamous no call against the Rams, a handful of moments changed the way his legacy is viewed forever. And that's why I think Drew Brees is one of the most underrated all-time greats. Not because people think he was bad, everybody knows he was good, but because somehow we've forgotten how difficult what he actually accomplished was. A quarterback with average physical tools, coming off a career-threatening injury, and joining a franchise that had never won anything, then transforming it into a perennial contender while also becoming one of the most productive quarterbacks in NFL history. That's not just a Hall of Fame career. That's one of the most impressive careers we've ever seen. If you enjoyed this NFL deep dive, please hit that subscribe button because I'm bringing a lot more of these to my channel. I'll catch you on the next one. Peace out.